Hello, everyone. Welcome to another class in Tucson. I'm Rachel, and I'm joined by Meredith Roddy from Beadalon, and we're going to show you another cool new project today. But first off, how has your week been going in Tucson?
Oh my gosh, I need to do a total brain dump, like a download of everything, because it has been a whirlwind of a week. I think I've done 7 shows.
Yeah, and you did that like
plus mine.
Almost all in one day.
almost all in one day.
Incredible.
Yeah, but it's been so much fun and seeing old friends and making new friends and doing wonderful lives with Sam's Bead Shop. And yeah, I'm so excited. I extended my trip by a couple of days. Usually I'm in and out for the Mojo show. But this year I was like, I've been coming to Tucson for 16 years, except for COVID.
Yeah.
And I've never done another show except for the show that I've been at.
How
is
that possible?
I know. I don't even know.
Yeah.
One year I went to Holidome, but it was like 12 years ago, and I don't really remember it. So I stayed out a couple of extra days, and I got to see so many more friends, so many more beads,
hugs.
and so many more hugs. And I've actually been getting double hugs now too. I ran into Jill Wiseman again this morning at Gem Mall.
And it's amazing how for like a city with there's so many shows and it's so spread out, you still just run into people without 100%. Even planning it. Yeah,
because we're all going to the same place. Because we're all the same people.
We're all obsessed with the same thing. Yeah. So earlier in the week, I got to check out the Beadalon booth at the Mojo show.
Yes.
And that was so fun. You guys is like, it's like a garden wall, just like filled with goodies, like all the new tools and gadgets and ideas. And then you even gave me a little demo there, and it was really fun.
Well, and I appreciate that. So because Beadalon is wholesale, we sell to people who then sell our products. And so it's tough for us being at like the casino or in a retail setting because we don't do cash and carry. Yeah. So we, a couple of years ago, totally rethought how we do shows. And then, so we have our customers come to us, and it's basically a big party, and there's an earring bar where you can sit down in the middle and make earrings. And I was actually at the demo table this year, so that was really fun. We had new products, and it's because you came in and you got actually like time with us to ask about new things, to get demonstrated, to see new things. I'm going to be doing a lot of that because Mom is real tired.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, like versus just like seeing it online and try to piece it together. It was so great to just like kind of touch everything, ask my questions, kind of figure out what was going on. Like you guys have some cool stuff coming.
Yeah,
and we're starting to show it off today.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Today we're going to use one of those brand new products, the Wildfire Ultra, a really cool new bead weaving thread. We're going to pair that with some of the Czech glass buttons that we love to share in the shop. We've kind of been growing this collection and like of colorful, fantastic buttons. Like, are you a fan of Czech glass buttons?
So let's talk about how this project came to be. Yeah. Because Rachel had asked me if I would do a Facebook Live, but what was I going to do? Yeah. So I went through your website and I looked at all of the beautiful gemstones, all of the beautiful Czech glass, all the beautiful everythings that you have. And I saw that you have the Czech glass buttons. And then I went back and I looked at all the different projects that you've done, and none of them featured the Czech glass buttons.
Yeah, we haven't done that many. You're right.
Right. And I love the Czech glass buttons. And always, I have them from years and years ago because they're so beautiful. But one of the challenges that I had with the Czech glass buttons, and many of us have with a lot of the stuff that we buy, is what am I going to do with it? Because there aren't that many things that you can do with the buttons. You can, wire wrap onto the back. You can make it into a clasp. You can use it. You can string it. But I find like buttons always go floppy on me when I string. And for a bracelet, they're beautiful, but they're a little big. So, and I love seed beads and I love bezeling things. So if I see something that I can bezel, I'm like,
you're on board
around this and bezel it.
Yeah. Actually, let's show that off. Let me put that on screen. You guys, here is what we're going to be doing today. Oh, look at that.
Right? So fun and easier than it looks.
Okay. Really? You promised me?
I promise. That's one of the things that I love doing with seed beads is it's convincing people and showing them that indeed and in fact, it is easier than it looks. You have to have patience. You have to know what you're doing, but hopefully after today, you'll have a little bit of a better idea of how to approach a project like this. Awesome. And the cool thing is, first of all, once you go down the seed bead rabbit hole, there's no coming back.
Oh, I'm on it. I just haven't made it to the bezeling yet. So I'm learning along with all of you today. So I'm going to ask my questions. please like throw out questions throughout. Like we're all going to learn together.
Perfect. And we're going to do this bail in the middle because quite frankly, it's, I think, the easiest part of this project.
Okay.
But it's just a little peyote, a little herringbone, and we're going to do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we're going to be using Wildfire Ultra. What is that?
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Wildfire Ultra. So as we know, at Beadalon, we have had Wildfire. That is our stringing material of choice. I actually had a big part in developing this when I got to the company 17 years ago.
That's so cool.
Because we didn't have a coated bonded thread. We had dandelion, which is awesome, but it is very easily pierced with a needle. So we needed something that had all of the characteristics of dandelion, but also couldn't be pierced easily with a needle.
Yeah.
So Wildfire was born, but one of the challenges of Wildfire that I've always had and other of our customers have also had over the years is it's a little too thick for very fine seed bead work like this. It is awesome if you're doing, for example, a woven bracelet. Did I just bump that out of the way? I'm sorry. A woven bracelet or any other kind of weaving. But when you're doing real intricate seed bead stitching like this, it can sometimes, depending on how many times you're going back through your beads, it can be a little thick. So Wildfire Ultra was born. So Wildfire Ultra has all of the properties of Wildfire. It is waterproof. It doesn't stretch. It is incredibly strong. So for a 0.004 diameter. So think about that. Think about how small that is. And we're going to see it in a second.
Like I don't know what that is.
It has a 9-pound break strength. So if you compare that to other stringing materials on the market, it's like 2.5 times as strong. Wow. And why that matters is abrasion resistance, and strength, right? So really, really proud of the Wildfire Ultra, and I'm really excited. I've been using it a lot lately because I do very intricate bead work, and this is fantastic because I can go through my size 15 beads now lots and lots of times, and it makes me very happy.
That's awesome.
The two things that are a little bit different that I want to talk about with the Wildfire Ultra that you don't need to do with Wildfire is condition it. So the Beater's Wax Thread Conditioner, Beater's Wax Thread Conditioner. I love when I actually learn the right names for the things that we carry. I'm like, that's not what I call it internally, but I guess that's what's on the package.
That's the full name.
That's the proper name. Yes. So Beater's Wax Thread Conditioner, I do usually give a little run through. Not always. I'm not a big waxer when it comes to anything, even with my legs. I'm just kidding. It's exactly where you went, isn't it, Rachel? I did not go there. I was going to say with my 9 though. But we've all been here for a really long time and the sunshine is getting to our brains. So I do tend to run it through depending on what I'm doing, the beater's wax. Another really good tip that I like to mention is if you have a challenge with a regular needle, first of all, you're going to want to use either a size 12 or a 13 needle with this because it is so thin. But if you have a challenge with your thread coming out, and it's something that I mentioned because I've heard it before, a big eye beading needle is a really good way to go, a really good thing to consider. Another option, indeed. So that's my elevator pitch on the Wildfire Ultra versus the Wildfire. Each has its uses, but for our project today, Wildfire Ultra really makes the most sense.
I think I've also heard that it's good for fringe, like because it has a little more movement.
100%, because it is so thread-like and so drapey. If you think about some of the other materials out there, some materials that are a little bit more like a fishing line, like a monofilament, great for certain things, not great for fringe. And even
I've tried regular Wildfire for fringe. It just was a little too stiff, and
it's not the right material for the job. You wouldn't use beading wire for it. So same too, like it's not the right tool for the job. Wildfire Ultra is so thread-like and so fibrous that's the right tool.
Yeah, I know we're not doing fringe today, but I had to give that a shout out.
But you know what? There's no reason that you couldn't add a little fringe on the bottom of this, right? We'll see how much time we have. I'm just kidding. We're not doing that today.
Come back another day.
We'll do that for part 2 of our Facebook.
Cool.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. That's the in-depth. I'm glad we could go over what is this new thing.
Yeah. What are we going to be playing with today? Perfect. Hello and welcome, everybody.
Yes.
It's really nice to have such a good crowd here. I'm so happy. Hugs to everyone.
Thanks for coming and joining us today. We appreciate it.
Okay, and let me know also, have you used the Wildfire Ultra? I would love to hear if you've used it, your pros, your cons, your goods, your bads. It's just it's always helpful for me to know what's going on. Look at how great that light is. We've got natural light all around us, and also these lights too.
Yeah, the
really,
check
really
buttons,
nice.
they sparkle. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, focus, Meredith. Focus.
All right, now it's time for the learning.
Yes.
Okay,
let's do it.
Let's see. Well, here's a little there. Just going to give everyone a little close up there. These are a selection of the check glass buttons we have in the shop. These fabulous flowers, the pinks, the purples. So definitely check those out. You can choose whatever color is your favorite.
You know what I haven't done actually, Rachel? I want to share us on the Facebook.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Facebook page.
And
so talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Well, and then the other things, we do need some seed beads today. We are bead weaving. So I shared with Meredith some options. The two sizes you'll need are 11-0 delicas. So we've 11-0 delicas. We've started to carry this a lot. We do a lot of mixes for our bead boxes, but I've also now added the bronze and the gold. I went with these two metallics because like metallics go with everything. And I thought they look really nice with the buttons. So you're going to need some 11-0 delicas. And then to get even smaller, we're also going to need some 15-0 rounds. So I did those in the matching bronze and matching gold. So you could either do like all gold, all bronze, or what we're doing today, a mix of both together.
Yes. And again, no rules with color. You can do whatever you want and however you want. Okay, so we're going to get started. And Wildfire Ultra, let's take some off the spool. Yeah. And you can see just how thin it is. And I'm going to use black today, so hopefully it will show up really nicely. And just for comparisons, I'm going to grab a Wildfire in a 006 in a blue, just so that you can see the difference. It might be a little tough, but I think it's important to really be able to see the difference here in the diameter of the thread. I think that's a pretty good.
No, I can see that. No, the blue on the right is definitely thicker.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So yeah, the Wildfire Ultra comes in black and frost. So you can either go dark or light, whichever one you think fits best with your beads.
Correct.
What were you using? What would you use if you weren't teaching? Would you still use the black for this one?
Probably.
Okay.
I think I would use the black for that one just because we're using dark beads.
Yeah, I think it blends in.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just gonna pop that so people can see.
For sure. Perfect. Okay, so here we go. Most important thing with Wildfire Ultra, just like Wildfire, is to use your super sharpest scissors, and you bring it to the back of the scissors, and you just kind of give it a little pull. So let me do that again so you can really see what I'm doing. I'm all the way in the back of my scissors, and I'm just pulling it. That's how sharp these scissors are. I am not going to come in here with a tip and try to do it like that.
Oh,
see how that works?
Yeah.
See how that makes makes a little chompy chomp right there.
That'll make it really hard to get through the needle, right?
Well, it's not even cutting it.
Yeah, true.
So that's at the tip. But if I come all the way back and I just pull it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Really important.
Are you guys planning to add other colors, or is it kind of sticking with the classics?
You never know.
All right.
You never know.
All right. What does that mean?
It means, well, if we think about it, so Wildfire, we had originally black, white, and moss green for how many years? And then we added 3 more colors, and then we added 3 more colors. So
okay. So for now, black and white, but if people buy it, if they like it, we'll see what happens.
Perfect.
That was Kimberly's question.
Okay. Thank you very much for asking your question. So the other trick, even though this is so super thin, I always come in here with my chain nose pliers or my flat nose pliers, and I flatten down the edge. If I'm using Wildfire, if I'm using Fireline, no matter what I am using, that is how I am going to get my needle ready, get my thread ready to be needled.
Yeah, Danielle teaches a lot of our bead weaving classes, and she always shares that tip, and she always credits you.
Oh, she's the nicest.
The sweetest. She's
actually, I should credit Leslie Rudowski because that's actually where I learned it. For years, I did credit her, and then so that I'm glad that Danielle credits me, but it's really Leslie Rudowski who taught me how to do it.
We're all sharing.
That's right. We pay it forward with our knowledge. So then what I do, and I have super tired eyes right now, so you'll all have to forgive me, but you pinch it in your fingers, and then you saw how I've slid the needle over the thread, and then I come in here with my chain nose pliers and I pull it. So try to make the needling of the thread or the threading of the needle process as easy as possible. A lot of times and that can also sometimes even be a deal breaker for seed bead weaving.
Oh, how much thread are we using?
I pull out a wingspan.
Okay.
Really good question. As a seed beater, a wingspan is always what I start with.
Yeah, it's a good go-to. So
about 5 feet.
Yeah, because I think everyone's wingspan is like about their height. So 5 to 6 feet will work.
Yep. Oh, Nancy, that makes me very, very happy. The Wildfire Ultra is not available in blue. No, I apologize. Not yet.
Not yet.
You never know.
We'll see what happens.
I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, so I've picked up one bead, and I'm going to make a stopper bead. I don't always do this, just between you and me. But with the Wildfire Ultra, because it is so fine, I find that it's better to make a stopper bead, but I incorporate the stopper bead into my design. Not a lot of people do that. Sometimes people have their stopper bead just hang out in the back. But to make a stopper bead, all you do is you thread your bead on and you go back through it. So not this way through it. I'm looping my thread around and it's coming out the same way that it went in. And this is a long tail. I usually leave about a 6-inch tail to weave back in at the end. So I've got my little stopper bead on here. And so I'm going to start picking up beads. And for those of you who might never have seed bead woven or even seed bead used before, to do that, I've got my bead mat down here and I just poke the beads to pick them up on my thread or onto my needle. So I'm not picking them up and trying to thread them like this, like I might do with a gemstone from a bead box. I'm just picking them up. And sometimes I even do it in like a little scoopy kind of a way if they're on the sides. So a lot of people are challenged with seeing the holes of the seed beads. And I get that. My eyes the older my eyes get, the harder it is. And the more powerful my readers I have to buy are. I feel like every time I go to buy new readers, I'm going up by a quarter of a mark. But we do what we can. And there are tons of products out there. There are magnifiers. We have really cool magnifiers that I was using at the booth at the Mojo show. And if I were making this, I would be counting. Sure. I'm not counting right now because I already have one that's all counted out. But I did want to show after I count out my 80 beads. Let's take a break for a second.
This is 80 of the 11 Delicas?
Correct. Okay. So I'm using the Delicas. I'm counting out 80. Quick aside. When you're doing bezels, and even when a pattern that you're reading calls for a certain number of Delicas, know in the back of your mind that that is a guide, because this one I was actually able to bezel with 78 Delicas. But this button is a little bit bigger, even though it's still a
31 millimeter.
There you go. A 31 millimeter. Millimeters are so small.
Yeah.
And there's variation in manufacturing. It's just how it is.
For sure.
When you get anything manufactured, there's going to be a little bit of variation. So when I tried to bezel this one with 78, I was really struggling. It was too tight. It wasn't working. Could I have made it work? Probably. But did I want to? No. So I did 80. But I didn't do 79. I did this one's 78 and this is 80. It needs to be an even number.
Oh, it has to be
Okay.
even. Okay.
Yep. It has to be an even number. Just trust me on that. I don't feel like explaining it.
I'm happy to trust you.
We want to do an even count peyote because it's just what we do. It's a lot easier.
It'll make our lives easier.
Yeah, it'll make our lives easier, and that's what we like to do. So 78, 80. So you might have to, when you get your button and you're going back and you're following along with the instructions and you're like, okay, Meredith said 80, but this is way too big. Or I tried 78 and it's way too small. It's going to be somewhere in there.
Okay.
But if you're going to try to bezel something a little bit smaller, the internet is your friend. However big of a button this is, how much is this?
I think that's an 18 millimeter.
An 18 millimeter?
Yeah.
So Google, really, honestly, it's your best friend. There will be charts
People
and
have made
instructions.
guides for how many delicas for bezel. Okay.
And again, I generally find that I need to bump up. I don't know why.
Yeah, even from the guides.
Even from the guides. So that's a little bit of a backstory there. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. Cool. So I have my beads. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to switch to my 80 right now, and I double checked. And that's another piece of advice too. Count your beads again. I used to not count my beads again because I'm like, it's so much to count. I can't do that. But there are so many times that I have ended up with an odd number of beads rather than an even number of beads, and it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I'll show why when we get to that part. Now, of course, I have so many threads out here. Bear with me for 1 second. And that's another challenge, again, that we have with this super fine thread. It doesn't knot very easily, but you don't want to give it the opportunity to tangle up on itself. And that's with any bead thread, anything from Nymo to Wildfire to Fireline. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I have 80 beads. And I've double checked my count. I actually triple checked my count. Very impressive. Didn't want my count to be wrong. So if this somehow is wrong, I did triple check it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my beads into a circle. And I always like to give a little checky check here. It's not, I have over the years been pretty good at eyeballing how this is going to work. I want just a little bit of extra. How's that for a precise measurement? Just a little bit of extra. Okay. This looks like it might actually end up being big, but I'd rather it be too big than too small. Okay. Because if your bezel is too big, then there are things that you can do, but I find going the opposite direction, not nearly.
Yeah, if it's too small, it's just not even going to fit over the button, right?
Yeah. And it's super frustrating and sometimes it can be heartbreaking. Okay, so I've got my thread, I've got my circle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that stop bead. Okay, and I'll bring everything back up to the camera. Can I move this down a little bit?
Go ahead. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, just kind of try to bump it down just a skosh. Okay, so I'm going to go back through that first bead. So I'm not skipping my stopper bead. I'm going through that stopper bead. And I'm going to go through all of the beads. Okay, I'm not going to do that now just in the interest of time. Mm-hmm. But when I do this, thread back through all the beads and then this amount of beads. So we're just going to suspension of disbelief. Okay. Meredith has gone through all of the beads and we're going back through this amount of beads.
Which was not a specific amount.
No, just about an inch. Okay. 3/4 of an inch to an inch.
All of them and then through another inch of them.
Just more. Yeah. 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start peyote stitching in the round. Okay. Oh, not intimidating. Okay. So here I have my beads and my thread is, can we move that just a little bit closer to us so that I can see what's going on here? Sure. I guess I can see here too. Just want to make sure that we can all see. You can see, I can see, we can all see. Okay. Yeah. Now my thread is coming out of this bead here. I'm going to skip the next bead and go through the following bead. Now, of course, I have to pick up one bead first. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I am going to do this next stitch in a contrasting color so that we can all really see what's going on here.
We're still sticking with the delicas?
Delicas, okay. Exactly. Yep.
We have not touched the rounds.
We have not touched the rounds. Don't even think about touching the rounds yet. So what I'm going to do is actually the third row of peyote stitch. This isn't a lesson really in all of the ins and outs of peyote. We can do that, save that for another day. We only have an hour. But what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of one bead, I'm skipping a bead, and I'm going to sew through the next bead, just one bead. I'm going to show that a couple different times and talk through it a couple different times so that we can really see what's going on. And I always recommend when you are first learning peyote stitch, first of all, if you've never done this before, get yourself some 3 or 4 millimeter cubes and practice with those. Okay.
Ooh, good idea.
If you're feeling real frisky and you want to just dive right in, use 2 contrasting colors of delicas. So once again, my thread is coming out from my bead. I'm skipping a bead and I'm going through the next seed bead. And I'm going to continue that process all the way around to the other side. So let's just do a couple more and I'm going to do it up to speed so that you can see just about how this stitch starts working up.
This is kind of reminding me of seeing people like knit a hat when they're like knitting in the round.
Yes. Yep. And there are a lot of similarities between knitting and crochet and seed bead work. For sure. And so a lot of times, like I'm a crocheter, I'm not really a knitter.
Cool.
I have knit. I find crochet is my love language, and knitting, I'm always getting frustrated, always getting frustrated. Now, because I'm having tired eyes, I did knot this around itself. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm just going to see what's going on here. I am going to.
And while you do that, I love Judy's question. She asks this one's for everybody, peyote versus wire wrapping. I think she means like for a cabochon, for a button to turn it into a pendant, which let us know in the comments. Would you rather use basically bead weaving, peyote stitch like we're doing today, or wire wrapping, or a little of both?
Yeah. And that's a great discussion, a great discussion question, because at Beadalon, many of you know Wyatt White. He's the resident wire wrapper. And I certainly can wrap a cab, no problem. But I would much rather do this because this is where my joy comes from. This is what fills my soul.
Interesting.
But for him, he would rather jump off a cliff with no parachute than try to then do a seed bead bezel. Yeah. So it's up to the artist. It's up to the designer. It's up to what technique brings you joy. Yeah. Because you can certainly use round wire. You can use square and half round wire. Like you can do all kinds of things to make a bezel. Okay, so here's another mistake that I made. I like doing mistakes when I'm doing lives so that you can see what's going on. So I skipped 2 beads.
Let's see. Hope you hold that up.
One. Actually, you know what? I didn't.
No, you didn't. That was perfect.
Yep. Okay, so different lesson here. Sometimes you just have to pull that little bead into place. Your delicas are good little soldiers, and they want to lock together in good little soldier ways. And so if they do not look right, something's going on. So you just want to know what they're supposed to look like and take your time. This is not an instant gratification jewelry project. Yeah. I know a lot of people like an instant gratification jewelry project. This is not that.
There's a place for both.
Exactly. 100%. This is the type of thing that I like to do while I'm watching television at night, when I'm relaxing.
Music.
Yep. I prepped all of my samples on the airplane on the way to Tucson.
Wow, that's impressive.
So it just
I hope you weren't in the middle seat, like elbows going everywhere.
No. And I've actually, there are techniques like now, if you weren't next to me, I would be all the way out like this. But I have my airplane arms.
Yeah. You could do like, it's the mini version of the movements.
Yeah. I'm like, why am I not on the other side? All right. So you can see you keep going all the way around until you get to the first place again. Now, I'm going to show the one thing that I did not prep for. Did I prep for it with this one? Meant to. Well, we're going to make that work. Is something called a step up. And if you guys watch me do my demonstrations, and if you watch the Beadalon Facebook Live at 2:00 Eastern time on Thursdays, you've heard me talk about the step up a lot. So we're going to cooking show style this, because this is, like I said, this is not a short project, but it is a gratifying project. So I'm just going to give me one moment to take, that's the tail, to take this last stitch out. Okay, so once you have done, here, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Come back on camera.
We're getting Rachel. Getting it to the stage where we can show a step up, no problem. Well, in the comments to our earlier question, are you team wire wrap, team bead weaving for your cabajons and buttons? We're getting a mix. Susie says team wire wrapping. Arlene says I'm in both camps. Who else? Caroline, I like peyote stitching too. Sometimes wire work is fun. Yeah, you don't have to stick with one.
Perfect.
You can go to whichever one is your mood that day, that week. Absolutely.
So, and again, Rachel's like, can you do this in an hour? And I was like, well, I can show how to do it in an hour. Well, we can't do this in an hour.
Yeah, you can't do every single stitch.
So I'm going to get my needle my thread re-needled here so that I can show that step up part. But as I'm doing that, I want to talk about the two next steps that you need to do, or the couple next steps that you need to do in order to get to where I am now. So, oops.
While you're doing that, I had another question come in, was when might the turquoise buttons be back in stock? I think you might be asking about the turquoise and gold one that was in the thumbnail and we showed at the beginning. Yeah, that one went quick on the live sales this week, but I already put in an order for more of them this morning. So I'm hoping in the next week or two, I'll have more of those. So join the wait list if you want that color.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, putting in a new order for buttons. Yeah, it's the best part of my job.
I know, right? Ordering the stuff. Okay, so we're going around. I'm going to show the step up in just 1 second. But what ends up happening is you do one round of one color. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that.
Take your time.
You're going to do one extra round with one color and then another round in a contrasting color. So you're adding 2 rounds of delicas after your initial ring. So 1 ring, 2 rounds of delicas, and then we're going to switch to the 15s.
So to make sure I get that, if you hold back up the one we were doing.
This one right here?
Yeah, because you were saying you have your original ring and then you do 2 more rows.
Correct.
Which are we on the original ring right now, or are we on that, are we on that first of the 2 rows?
Here?
Yeah.
We're on the first of the 2 rows.
Okay, so the original ring is just the 80
correct
that we go through a couple times.
Yes.
So that's the original ring. And then this is, you said then you do 2 more rows. So we've shown the first, and then you would have to do that a second time.
Exactly. Okay. Yep. All right, we're all together. Good clarification. Okay. And then we switch to 15s. 15s are not for the faint of heart. Not going to lie.
Some folks like to call them bead dust.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. Affectionately or not affectionately.
I love 15 seed beads, 15 seed beads, and a lot of people do.
Oh, and one more sorry, just
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Another great question. Do you count that stopper bead in your 80? I think you
Yes.
did, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I include the stopper bead. Some people don't.
Okay.
Some people, it's an extra bead.
They just keep it separate.
Yep.
They take it off later.
Yep.
Or, yeah.
And it could be.
Mhm.
A lot of designers do that. A lot of instructors teach that way. I just happen to incorporate
so
it
it's
into
part of
the
your,
design.
whether it's your 78, your 80, whichever even number you do, it's part of that. Cool.
Correct. All right, so I'm going to pick up a 15. And I have now done 3 rows of 15s. So I've ostensibly done 4 rows of peyote in delicas, depending on what color combination I want to do, and then 3 rows of 15s. Okay, so let's talk about the step up for a minute. So the step up is when you have to finish the row that you are working on and get your needle in position for the next row. Okay.
How do you know when it's time to step up, I guess?
Very, very good question. You know, because your beadwork looks like this. So if I went up to this, let's see how far close up we can get. I have my original row here, and this is where working in contrasting colors becomes really, really helpful. The row that I'm working on right now is the top row. The row that I'm coming from is this row that's in the middle. It's hard to explain, but once you see it, you see it. Because, and watch where my needle goes. My needle is going to go as if I was going around and around and around and around.
Yeah, you've added a bead.
I've added a bead.
Skipping one.
This would be the next bead that I go through. But my needle now has no place to go because it needs to step up with no bead added into.
Because before we were skipping and that bead we were skipping was lower down, like to the left.
Correct.
But that's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. Now we're here and we have to reposition our needle for the next row that we're working. Okay, so that's the step up.
You went through one extra bead outside of our normal process.
Yep. So now, since we are cooking show styling it, what I'm going to do, I have now done the 3 rows of 15s, which are going to be these rows right here. Okay, so what we're doing is we're working from the middle to one side and then the middle to the other side. So we're not working from one side all the way to the other. We're working from the middle to one side and then the middle to the other side. So I've worked from the middle to one side, but now I have to reposition my needle to start working that other side. And this is the easiest part of this project. There's always one part that's the hardest and one part that's the easiest. This part is the one that's the easiest because what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply sew through my beads so that I am exiting one of these delicas on the other side, right? That's the easy part. I want to make sure that I'm following my thread path. So I'm not skipping beads, right? I'm following along. So I'm just going to go on a straight up diagonal. And sometimes I can take more than one bead at once, right? I just went through 3 there. I know, now I'm just showing off. And because I like working away from myself, so let me show what I'm doing again. So since I like working away from myself, I'm going to turn this around and I am going to go through.
Keep going diagonal.
Yep, just on the diagonal. So now my thread is exiting this delica here at the very top. And I'm going to add now 2 more rounds of delicas. Okay. And we're just going to keep on peyote stitching just like we did.
Okay. It's the exact center.
This is the exact center
of the outer rim.
These 2 beads here, that's that first ring. And now we're working toward the front or the back. It doesn't really matter. It's symmetrical.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just start peyoteing again, just a little bit before we go to do our bail. So now,
remind folks that stitch again.
Yep.
Just for folks who are new to it.
If you've joined us late,
Yes.
Now we don't have to really worry about skipping a bead and going into a bead because we have down beads and we have up beads. Okay. And so I don't worry about that down bead at all. That down bead means nothing to me. I'm just going through the up bead. And I'm going to continue going through the up beads all the way around. So this is where hopefully things will start clicking for peyote stitch, because you can really see where those down beads and up beads are.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just keep on going around.
Just keep on adding one seed bead and going through the up beads.
Yep. And if you're a sewer, a seamstress, if you will, or if you like doing embroidery, this will feel very natural. This will feel familiar. This will feel comfortable. This is about the place that I like to come in and start measuring each time I go, every once in a while, to make sure that my button is going to fit. Now this button feels a little tight, and you know why? Because this is my 78. When I was on the plane and I was making my samples, and I did this around for the 78, and I went to go use my button. So let's see if a different one
we have
fits.
some other options over here.
So all might not be lost. Okay. This one feels a little bit better, still feels a little tight. And again, this one worked with 78. So go figure.
It's just a unique one.
Yep. Which is why I'm saying with the 80. But if you look at kind of how that's sitting in there, I could make this guy work with 78. Same button.
Interesting. But
this
one was too tight.
Was a little too tight.
Okay.
So, and I say that just so people are aware.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, well, Meredith said that it was 80 but just in general, also, if you're going to start bezeling other things, because once you start bezeling things, you kind of can't stop. But you want to make sure that you've got your delicas where your delicas are going and your 15s where your 15s are going, which is again why I definitely recommend using contrasting colors
for each new row.
For each new row, and contrasting colors with your delicas and your 15s. Now, of course, we're not going to demonstrate with that because it's going to end up being like crazy psychedelic. We wanted it to be beautiful, something that you want to make. But little tips and tricks for the peyote stitch.
And also, if you've never done peyote before, I think starting with a flat peyote, like a simple flat bracelet, is probably the way to go. Get used to doing the peyote stitch, kind of familiar with it. Start just like with a flat bracelet. I think we've done some on our channel. There's lots of great tutorials out there. And then once you're feeling good, you have the basics, then take it a step up.
See if you can do it.
Intended.
That's a good one.
Take it a step up and start going in the round with the bezel.
Perfect. All right. And this will happen too. Your thread's going to loop around the tail. Some people are very fastidious about tucking in their tails or weaving in their ends. I am not that person. I will do an entire project with thread, adding thread 10 times.
Yeah. Just tails coming out everywhere.
Yeah, tails everywhere. And then finally I will thread all of the tails in together. And then I have the wonderful satisfaction of finishing the project. So yeah, I'm a tail lever kind of gal. And I'd actually love to know if we have any seed beaters out here.
There's definitely folks chatting about their love of seed beating.
Are you a tail weaver or a tail lever? Okay, so we're going around and we're going around and we're going around, and we're going to add 2 more rows of peyote stitch in the delicas. Then we're going to switch to size 15s. And when we switch to the size 15s, that's when you start putting your button inside and start stitching it together. And everything comes together in a lovely bead hug.
Oh, wait, so you're going to be stitching with the the button in your work?
Correct.
Oh.
And I put the button in my work when I start with the first row of size 15s.
Okay.
So I still have a ways to go here.
Mm-hmm.
But when I switch to the 15s, I'm still doing the exact same stitch.
Yeah.
So nothing new to show, but to be aware that once I start those 15s, that's when I hold the button here and I stitch in with the button. And after that first row, the button comes in and you don't have to hold it anymore. And you're ready to go.
It gets sucked into there.
Yep. And then your bezel will start to look like, well, it will. It won't start. It will look like this.
It will look like this.
And I have already taken my needle off. And this is why you need a lot of needles, friends, because you are always re-needling your work. Oh my gosh, my eyes are so tired. I'm looking at sparkling gemstones all week.
And someone asked a question. We mentioned it earlier, but I'll just bring it up again. There was a question of how do you know how many beads to go around a bezel for these 31 millimeter Czech glass buttons? Based on thanks to Meredith trying this out. Most of them work with 80, but sometimes
you can get away with
78.
I'm going to step out and say 80.
80 seems like pretty. It seems like
go with 80.
But there's a guides online. So if you have a different size button, just search, what size your cabochon is, what size your button is, and you'll get tips on how many delicas to use for that first ring. So there's lots of great information online.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're doing something that's like not a circular shape, like something else, you'll probably need there's probably more in-depth tutorials if you want to like do a whole different shape that's not a circle.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's math involved, but the math that I like doing is searching up online.
Yeah.
And figuring it
Let
out.
someone else do the math.
Yeah. Because if you figure a delica is 2 millimeters and how many in circumference and diameter and pi is somehow involved, probably. Okay, so here we are. And I have finished my back bezel, or I finished my back row of 15s. And to be quite honest, sometimes I finish on the front and sometimes I finish on the back.
Yeah.
Is there a rhyme or reason for it? It's kind of just what I'm paying attention to at the time, or maybe how it's just kind of working for me at the moment. But the next thing that I need to do, just like we went from the back to the front before, now I'm going to go from the back to the middle. Because what we're going to do, I'm doing pretty good on time, is this guy right here. We're going to do a bezel. And this is called a warped square. So we're getting really 2 huge Facebook Live lessons.
Yeah, this is
for
2
one
tutorials
today.
This
2
you could
tutorials.
Use other things.
Absolutely. Of course, sure, you could just do a little loop here on the top. You could use a wire guardian. You could, do all kinds of different things. And honestly, you can start embellishing this to the bejesus.
Yeah.
But
we're talking about
trying to keep it trying to keep it simple.
I don't know. I feel like you're going big for Tucson.
I know, right?
This is not simple, but I love it.
You got to go big in Tucson.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move my needle back again to the center of my bezel here. So I'm coming out of that bottom. Oh, you know what? It's so funny. This one I prepped so that I can do the step up. I knew I did. I was like, I knew that I had a step up prep.
One more row.
Yeah, I need to come all the way up to here in order to show that step up, but I'm not going to.
We've already shown you're right.
Yeah. So, but that's why my needle is not in the position that I wanted it to be. But I am going to just go ahead and thread through. To the middle. Okay, so first time I threaded through to the edge because I needed to make my second half of my bezel. But here I am just going, and I want to make sure that I'm following the bead path or the thread path to the middle. And this is where I got a little creative. And I, just between you and me, I generally do this differently every time. Because once I get to this part, I'm like kind of making it up as I go along.
Yeah.
But I did write down what I had done, and now I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. So I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go
Also, I
and
just
do this
love
again.
how that pink pops in that button when you lay it down.
Oh,
just like
yeah,
so
100% with
happy.
these lights. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 2 Delica beads. So I'm done with my 15s. Woo! No more 15s, Rachel. But I feel very proud of myself that I tackled those 15s. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 2 Delicas, and I'm going back through that same Delica that my thread is exiting. So sometimes it takes a little finessing to get that needle where I want, and you can see I'm kind of pushing down the Delica in front of it.
Oh, so you're going to make it so we can see the thread. You're going, right?
No.
Because you're not
Maybe
going back through the bead? Because that'll just make the thread show? No? Or am I off? Or you added a bead. I missed that part.
I added 2 beads.
All right, glad I clarified.
2 beads.
I thought you were just like going back through it on its own.
Because what I'm doing is I'm prepping a herringbone stitch.
Yes.
Okay. So I added 2 beads here.
Okay.
And I went back through the same bead. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up through. Wait, let me just double check my instructions. Yeah, okay, perfect. So now I'm going to do that same thing, but I'm going to do it through this bead here. So let me see if I can really show what's going on here. I had first taken the 2 beads, added 2 beads with this bead here. I'm going to do the same thing with this bead here. So I need to go back through this bead. Rachel's like, what is going on? No, I see.
We're on the bezel itself. We're going to the one parallel to it, I think.
Exactly. So let me show this angle of what's happening. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add 2 beads, 2 Delica beads, because actually, let me get those 15s out of the way. We don't need those pesky 15s out there anymore giving us the agita. Okay, so I'm going to do that very same thing. I'm going to come around and back through that Delica bead. Okay, so now I have the beginnings of some nice herringbone happening here. So we did the peyote. Now we're here for the herringbone. So in order to start the herringbone, I'm going to come back through that bead. It's kind of the first bead that I added in that pass, if that's how you like to think about it. And then I'm going to add 2 A's. 2 A's, that's what I have written down as my, like, what is she talking about? 2 Delicas, and I'm going to come down through this bead here on the left. And ready for the magic? I'm coming up. You see what I did there?
Whoa.
Here's the front. I'm going back to the back, up through this bead.
What? One of those other 2 you added.
Yep. And then I'm going to add 2 more Delicas. I'm going to go down through. Now the only bead that doesn't have an extra bead involved. And then here's me on the back. Now I'm going to move it to the front. And I'm going to go through both of those beads. Then I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to put that aside.
Okay.
Actually, here, let me do this here. I'm going to get up. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to take a break. And now I'm going to come back, and I'm going to start on my warped square. This works up way faster than you would think. So I'm going to come back here.
Taking breaks.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great tip.
So here I'm taking half of a wingspan because you actually don't need that much thread for the warped square. And just in case you missed it, cutting the Wildfire Ultra, super sharp scissors, way back in the back of the jaws, not up here, or else it'll just nibble it. It won't actually cut it. Back in the back of the jaw. Over here, give a nice little flatty flat. pull a needle off of a piece that we've already been working on and needle my thread by pinching it in between my finger and my thumb and giving myself a moment to get my thread needled. This is also why, especially if you are not a comfortable seed beater, why a big eye needle is a good way to go. They're much faster and easier to thread. Because if I'm having a little trouble, and I do this for a living. Okay, so back to the delicas. We are only working with delicas, and I've got my 2 colors of delicas. And what we're going to do is we are going to build this veil. It's called a warped square. And the warped square works with a herringbone stitch here, which we just set up, and peyote on the sides. See, can I do this in 10 minutes? You said I could go a minute or two over.
No, I said we go like 10 minutes over.
Okay, perfect. And then we have got plenty of time. Yeah. So I'm going to pick up 4 of my first color. Actually, I'm going to go here so I can go A and B. Oftentimes in seed bead patterns, you'll see the colors referred to as letters, color A and color B. So we're going to go for our warped square. We're going to pick up 4 color A's, and we're going to go back around and through, all of those A's, and then 2 A's again. Okay, so we are making a square because we are building a warped square. So a square has 4 sides. My first beads are 4. Okay, similar pattern if you've done this with a triangle before, or any kind of geometric beadwork. But for me, I like to make sure they're all lined up like good little soldiers. We got 4 in a row here. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up 2 of color B. Again, contrasting colors when you are making this veil make all the difference in
I really like
the
how
world.
the bronze and the gold look next to each other.
You picked great colors for this project.
You probably
Rachel,
could obviously find even more contrasting for sure, but I love the mixed metals.
So what I'm going to do is I'm working in the round, but I'm working in the round a little bit of a different way. I'm picking up 2 beads and I'm going to go through the next bead. So I'm not skipping anything here. I'm just going straight through that very next bead around. I've got the tail kind of hugged around. Rachel just moved to give me a little bit of room.
I was like, let me give you a little more space.
2 beads. Oops, 2 beads. And through the next bead. So again, I'm not skipping any beads. 2 beads and then the next bead. 2 beads and then the next bead. And now things are getting a little close, but I'm going to do that very same thing. I'm going to trust that the beads know where to go. 2 beads and then the next bead, right? Because I went through 1, 2, and 3 beads. But you'll see that this is where I need to do a step up. So I'm going to do my step up in 2 steps. Usually I do it in 1, but this obviously, this gold bead is the next bead that I need to go through. But my thread doesn't really have anywhere to go. It's kind of locked in behind this bead here. And I have done 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is in 4s. So that's how I know that I need to do my step up. Okay, and all the step is threading back through that corner bead. And sometimes, especially when I'm using some nice thin Wildfire Ultra, I just give my beads a little zhuzh, kind of get them to go exactly where I want. And this is what it should look like. We've got our 4 beads in the center and then 2 beads on each point. Okay, because those beads, and you can see here, are going to become these beads here. So I'm going to do like a little speed up action here.
Sounds good.
So we're going to pick up 2 and go down the next one. So that's my herringbone part. And then I'm going to pick up a color A bead and go through the next brown bead. Okay, let's get this. What is going on? Everything keeps falling. And that's what happens when you do seed bead work. It's sometimes hard to demonstrate because, and you'll see when you do it, your work just kind of wants to fly sometimes. And that's okay. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do my peyote stitch. And then I'm going to go on the sides and I'm going to do my herringbone stitch. And I'm going to go in the middle and I'm going to do my peyote stitch. And I'm going to go on the sides. And I'm giving a pretty good tension here. Not a super, super tight tension like if you were making a beaded box, if anybody's done that before, but tight enough that my beads are going to fall into place nicely. Now, once again, I have 1, 2, 3. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need to do that step up because it looks a little different, but I also know 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times around, I need to do my step up. So I've added my delicate bead and I'm going to this time go through both together. So I'm going through 2 beads. Okay. So I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. We're going to make a small bail today.
Sounds good.
Okay, so then back to my gold. And here I need to add a peyote stitch twice. So I need to add 1 here and 1 here because I'm increasing each time I do a round. So each time I do a round, I keep getting caught on this little part right here.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little, there's a little
on the wooden tray, yeah.
splinter sticking out on the wood tray. And my thread keeps getting caught. So it came out of my needle. But it's okay because we should be able to just re-needle our thread without too much trouble. Famous last words, right?
And if you're looking for links for anything we're showing off today, the fabulous Rachel Malice has been dropping them in the comments. If you've seen those comments from Sam's Bead Shop, she's been sharing them. And you can also check out the description of this video, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. In the description of this video, we want to make sure you have all the links all in one place. But that first link is the one you'll want to click on in the description. And then it lays out the supply list and links to all the pieces we're using today. The buttons, the seed beads, the Wildfire Ultra. It's all there in one place.
Awesome. You guys do such a great job of bringing amazing designers and then showing people what they need in order to make the projects. And it's so easy to shop your site.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a challenge. And I know that because at Beadalon, we have a slightly different business model, but I know it's very challenging to make shopping a website easy.
Yeah.
And you guys do a really, really good job with that.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we try to make it as like one-stop shopping as it can be. Get it all in one place.
Perfect. All right, so let me show that peyote stitch on the side again, because the first one we did was 1 on each side, but now we need to add 1 and 2 A beads on each side, or gold beads in this case, and then 2 together for that herringbone stitch on the side. And you get into the rhythm of it and you just
so
keep
pretty.
on going around and around.
It's just sparkling.
Now, somewhere, I feel like I missed a step up because I'm on 3 now. Oh, I did. Okay. So once again, Meredith makes a mistake on purpose. So how do I know I missed a step up? Because I've 1, 2, 3, 4 around. And if I take this out, here, I'm going to take it out and you can say.
Huh?
So hard when you're working with these little teeny tiny beads. But I know from doing this for a gazillion years that here's my step up right here. And the beads will talk to you. The beads will tell you when to do the step up, which beads that you need to add at which point. We just have to be listening to them. And if I am not listening to my beads, that's when mistakes get made. So let's do one more round and then I will attach it. So here we are. Now I did that first part of the herringbone and now we're here in the peyote on the side. And now I need to add 3 beads on the side. So here's 1.
Also, I'm obsessed with your nail polish color.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I've been noticing it the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, that is the perfect like fuchsia purpley pink with the sparkles. Good choice.
Thank you. Well, I did it to match our color scheme for the mojo.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, so here I am on the side and I'm adding 2. So every time you're in a corner, you add 2 beads. They don't always want to line up perfectly. You just kind of have to cajole them into place. And now I'm here on the side, so I've got 1, 2, why isn't this guy going in the way I want it to? Come on, friend. And 3. And that's the thing too, if you're not kind of counting and seeing where your rounds are ending, it can be, you can lose your place pretty easily. Oh, my eyes are so tired, Rachel.
It's been a full week.
Oh my God.
It's your last day in Tucson. You're going to go to one more show after this, right?
And then I'm doing the Beads of Courage event tonight. So by that point, I'm going to be, luckily we're doing a memory wire project.
Yeah, simple.
So
yeah, if folks have never heard of Beads of Courage, I definitely recommend looking it up. They do some amazing things.
All right, so here we go. And I'm coming around the home stretch here on my 4th one. And I know that, is that the 4th one? I think so. Yep. Because of just counting what's happening on the side and making sure that everything is nice and even. And once I get here to the end, this is going to be my last step up. Okay. And sometimes see how I just kind of flip that over to get a little bit of a better access to the beads. You'll do that a lot in seed bead work. Move it around, flip it around, kind of finagle your needle in there to get into a tight space sometimes. So you can see as I'm going, my thread or my shape is starting to become a triangle. This is called a warped square.
That was magic.
I know, right?
How did that just happen?
That was the
That's
aha
so cool.
moment because I was holding really flat and really tight.
Yeah.
But once you get to this round, it's gonna wanna create the space. That way. Yeah. So cool. And then you hold it like this as you go around and around and around and do it. But that's about the same size, right? You can make your bail as big as you want.
Okay, so you
can go crazy.
Keep going around all the sides if you want to.
And if you're super wild, you can make a whole bunch of these warped squares and then sew them together to make a star.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so here I am back here. I've got a thread coming out of here, a thread coming out of here, a thread coming out of here. If I didn't have 2 more minutes to finish this project,
don't stress.
I would of course weave all of these threads in. Okay. But now what I need to do is I need to sew my warped square to my finished piece. And all I'm going to do that, I'm coming out here on this bead here. I'm going to go through this, hey, why don't I just go through 2 beads? Why not? I'm going to go through 2 beads here. I'm going to come around so it's even. And I'm going to go through these 2 beads and then those same 2 beads, or not those same 2 beads, those different 2 beads on the other side on my bezeled piece. And I'm going to very carefully tighten this all up. Okay. But now what I need to do, somehow that got twisted. How did it get twisted?
We do have a lot of threads going on.
I know. It should not have gotten twisted. That's really weird. I don't think it actually is twisted. Let's see again. Bloop. Yeah, I don't recommend having this many threads.
No, do
working,
some weaving
but
in and then just have one left.
Sometimes I'm a trained professional. Okay, but now what I need to do is I need to attach it on the back. So I'm coming out of these 2 beads here, and I'm going to go up these 2 beads on the back. So I can't get through both. I'm just going to go through one. And then I'm going to go through the next one. And then I'm going to do that very same thing to attach the back here. I'm going to go up 2 of these beads. I could go back up through 4. I could go up through all of them. And I'm going to go back down on the back. Again, I'm moving my beadwork around to make it easier on myself. Back down through 1 bead. Don't necessarily always have to take my thread paths together. Sometimes it's easier to do it separately. And somehow one of my beads got lost, but there should be another bead here. It must have fallen off at some point.
Oh, good.
And come down here. And so now it's attached, but it's a little wobbly.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that thread path and reinforce that thread path maybe 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
Thread my needle back through a bunch of the beads. I'm a knotter. Mm-hmm. Danielle Wicks and I have a constant debate over knotting versus not knotting. On something like this, it's pretty secure if you weave it back through a couple times, change your path a couple times.
But
I do that, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to tie a little teeny tiny knot. No one will ever know. Send it off with a Wildfire cord cutter. Call it a day. So lots of steps, but I think that the final result is totally, totally worth it, because then you can put this on a strand of gemstones. Yeah. You could put this on a corresponding Czech glass beads.
Maybe some silver silk pipe chain.
Oh, the silver silk pipe chain would be perfect. So pretty. Shout out to Neely.
Yes. Can you hold both of them
still
up?
Here. Is Neely still here?
I think he already flew back.
All right, I'll reach out to him just in case.
Guys, look at those. Look at how those colors just pop.
Yep. So once you get all of your thread tails tucked in, then you have a beautiful piece that you can use for all different kinds of embellishments. You could also, if you were like that bail is not for me, do it as a bracelet and just, figure out a way to attach this way and that way, and then make a really pretty bracelet, a beaded bracelet. Or you could even do a wire guardian. You could sew in a wire guardian and then do a strung design or line on stretch cord. I mean, there's like a gazillion different ways that you can go with that. Yeah. But again, beautiful, beautiful buttons. And now we can use them and turn them into jewelry rather than just admiring them from afar.
They have a home in that frame. So now you can, you don't just have to hoard them at home. You now can take them on the go with you. Yep, 100%. They're still yours. You haven't given them away. You just got to show them off to the world. Oh, wait, I want everyone to see that. Just like it's that statement. You want that right there. Can I hold one of them? Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. And it could be on a short choker length. It could be medium length. It could be long length.
Do I make it long, make it short?
And I love the idea of putting it on some silver silk, because that is super, super easy.
The metallics will blend all together. That would be great.
100%.
Oh my gosh, Meredith, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
What you just did there.
I am exhausted now.
That was incredible. Thank you for all that detail.
Of course.
I just want to give everyone a little shout out. If you have not checked out the Sam's Bead Shop app, definitely recommend checking it out. Another way to make shopping simple. So when you head, let me
make yourself big.
Yep, let me give you guys.
Big in yourself.
Here we go. All right, when you open up the Sam's Bead Shop app, which you can download in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, you can check out all the live sales we've done in Tucson, all of our recent beads. But what I like the most, we have a few menu options at the bottom. I like to head over to the shop button, and I try to keep this updated with kind of some of the relevant things you might want to check out this week. So right now, I would want to click on Bezel, a Czech glass button, and this web page is available. So now you have the supply list, Wildfire Ultra, Czech glass buttons, the Delicas, and Miyukis. So just want to give a shout out to that shop tab here. Just makes it really easy. So
really easy. We were talking
if you don't have it.
about how impressed I am with how you make shopping your site and so many things to buy.
Some people probably have a love and a hate towards that.
It's true.
Which is fair. Click, that's all it takes.
Awesome.
Well, I'm so honored. Thanks for, I feel like, we've done a lot of kind of more basic sliding into intermediate bead weaving, but I think it's really great to introduce some of these more higher intermediate, maybe a little more advanced, because I think it inspires people. I think it helps them see where they could go, gets them motivated to try some of the simpler things, and eventually give this a try. And maybe you're ready. Some folks are probably ready. You've been following our classes for a while, and I think this might be the perfect time to try a bezel.
Yes, and when you do, definitely post it on your socials and tag both Sam's Bead Shop, but also me. I'm at Meredith Joy Designs, and then of course also tag Beadalon, because that is where the
what is your Facebook group called?
So our Facebook group is we have our Beadalon Facebook page, and then there's the Jewelry Making with Beadalon Facebook group.
Cool.
And that's where we want everyone to show all of their pretties.
If you make stuff that you pick up from us that's using Beadalon products, share it there, but also just join, because you can get even more inspiration for how to use these tools.
I get inspiration each and every day from things that people post.
People are incredible.
Love it. And it's such a wonderful community that we have, because for the most part, we're all helping each other out. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I love that. So check that group out. Check the Sam's Bead Shop Gem Chat Facebook group, Gem Chat, where we talk about more than just gems. We chat about all the beads, all the bead things. So, wow, this was class number 4 here in Tucson. We got one more. Class number 5 is tomorrow. You will be joined by me and Shira, and we're gonna just play with some of the goodies we picked up this week. It's gonna be very chill and just see where the creativity takes us.
So fun. I can't wait to tune in.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you for teaching. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Yes. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, bye everyone. We'll talk to you later.